Welcome to our 87-acre first-generation family farm, where we have approximately 15 acres worth of hay fields. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the Sveaverken Auto Steer system and see if it really is up to the test for our small hay fields. Now, while you might consider an auto steer system to be more inclined towards larger fields, if you can find a precise system such as this, it can also work well for smaller fields. Exactly how precise is this system? Stay tuned, and if you've ever needed to install an auto steer system, we go through all the nitty-gritty details. Alright guys, you have been asking, you have been waiting. Today is the day that we are going to be installing an auto steer system on our tractor right here. There she is, in the barn, ready and waiting. She's brimming with excitement. Actually, she needs to get washed. It has been dry and everything is covered in pollen. Now this is a 115 horsepower tractor. This is a New Holland T5 115 tractor. Normally, you don't install a GPS system on these tractors, despite the fact that this is a good sized tractor. It's not considered a large scale farming sort of tractor, nor is it necessarily considered a tillage type of tractor. So because of that, there are certain brackets and features that are missing that you would normally use to install these types of systems. However, we have a little trick up our sleeve. One of the areas that's going to be affecting us is right here. But we are missing some sprocket holes for bolts to go into. We have a sensor that's going to fit right here, but we only have one hole that it can fit into. So we have a solution for that. Normally, tractors have very nice little plug systems right here that you can plug into. And this is completely metal. This is all thick, hard metal. Not exactly something you can drill through very easily, nor am I going to attempt. So we're gonna do something a little bit different. So we already have our backup camera system installed right here. We may be able to mount another camera system right up above it or on this door right here. Again, it's not gonna be ideal, but it'll work for what we need. But there's something a little bit trickier than that. It's a good thing we're a little bit nimble here. Most tractors also have brackets right here. And instead of brackets, we have this very nice acrylic sunroof. It's kind of useless. It gets too hot, it creates too much dust, so we do not use it. But we can't screw into it either because that wouldn't work either. So we have another solution. But you're gonna have to wait to find out what that is. Let's get started. All right, so we've already gone through and looked through the box a little bit and checked out some of the parts. So here's just a couple of things we're gonna go over. We've got some brackets here. We have another bracket attachment system here. We have our steering wheel. We have our GPS unit right there. Another set of brackets. We have wires to connect it. We have another set of brackets. More brackets. See, here's some more brackets and some more wiring. And our GPS, or our screen is right back here, staying safe. And then this is what's gonna mount our GPS unit onto the tractor. Normally, these holes go into some brackets on the roof. However, if you noticed, we don't have brackets on the roof, so we're gonna try something a little bit different. And then, of course, we have attachments in here. These are for the steering wheel. You're gonna see a lot of these. Don't be alarmed. You only need one, but they give you a lot because they're all slightly different. This one says 18. This one says 4. You get the idea. Because each tractor steering column is a little bit different, they give you different attachments for your steering wheel because you are gonna have to remove your steering wheel. First, we're gonna need some polishing supplies. Pretty sure this hasn't been used in quite some time, judging by the amount of animal poop in here. This is probably more like what we're looking for. Not much left of that. Ugh, this smells disgusting in here. Buffs to a high gloss, contains no silicone for compounding automotive finishes. Suppose it might work. Oh! They also include a nice hat in your kit. Now while you're thinking that this is a sponsored product, it is, but I also had to pay for it. So it's a sponsored product at a discounted rate. Almost. We're just gonna dump it on like this. There we go. Actually doing a pretty dang good job. Let's see if this works better. Kind of looks like Chipotle mayo. Oh man, that really did a good job. That did the trick. All right, so now that we have this all nice and smooth, now it is ready for us to mount our GPS unit up here. All right, so we're gonna get some stuff assembled down here to make it easier to install up there. So this is our main attachment bracket. Now you have your choice. If you already have brackets on your tractor, then you can just I believe slide it in like so, and then you have this nut. You just tighten your nut down. We don't have brackets on the tractor, so I have two options. I could attach it with just this base plate right here, which would make it pretty much permanent, or I can make it semi-permanent by putting tape, special tape on the back of this, and then attaching this faceplate to the tractor roof. And then this would then lock in on top. So then if I needed to remove this for maintenance, or if I was going through an area with lots of brush and I didn't want to damage my unit, it would be very easy just to detach it off from here. And then this base plate right here would stay on the tractor. So I think that's what we're gonna do. Now, I didn't see any instructions included with this, except for the user system. There is instructions for that, luckily. So the technical aspect is taken care of, the mechanical needs a little bit of work. So there's something that we're gonna be using. We have here 3M industrial strength mounting tape. So this stuff is rated for every inch of tape, it's rated for 3 pounds. So this is probably a good 5 or 6 pounds, I would guess. This is probably about a ½ pound. We're basically gonna put 3 inches by about 6 inches on each side. So that should be more than enough hold for what we're gonna do. And they actually include their own 3M mounting tape for the antenna. This can stick either on your tractor because it is magnetic, or you can use your 3M mounting tape. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the 3M mounting tape. So we have 13 mm for our nut right there. And this bad boy right here, who's gonna go right in the center, is pulling in at a whopping 15/16, just for reference. Now before you put your GPS on, please make sure there are holes right here. There are holes right here. There are plugs that have to go into both of these. There's one right here. So first we're gonna take this guy apart. So this is gonna plug into the rest of our wiring harness, and then this is gonna be fed up through the bottom. Actually, these look like they should fit and they're pretty good. Alright, so they do give you a couple of options. They give you the option of either using these little special setting screws to screw all of these holes into the back of here. But they also give you this double-sided sticky plate, so I think we're actually going to use that instead. I had originally thought this was an anti-vibration plate, but it's not. It's a double-sided tape so that you don't have to use these holes right here. So the nice thing about this system is that they do give you several options. One thing you have to note is that one side is skinnier than the other, and it's the same thing on the bracket here, which I didn't realize until I put this tape on. Alright, so we peeled the back off, so now we have to make sure that we get this on correctly. You squish it down real good. Don't smash your GPS unit too much there. We have a washer and a lock washer. So I think it's going to go like this, and then the lock washer is going to go on the opposite side. I don't know, but that's my guess. And this has red dots. You're going to line up the red dots. Now the proper way to do this is to take some alcohol, rub everything down, and make sure there is no film or anything on there, because you really want this mounting tape to stick as well as possible. Alright, so as you can see, 3 strips fit perfectly on each side. And then tomorrow I'm going to go through and then peel this off, and that's when we're going to stick it up on the roof. So we have our angle sensor. What we're going to do is we're going to put it right here so it can still maintain that angle. We're going to put a nut through that hole right there, but we're also going to put tape all along this whole edge right here so that it keeps this nice and secured on there, as well as the nuts. Okay, next we're going to do the part that scares most people. You gotta take your steering wheel off. This is a New Holland tractor, and one thing with New Holland tractors is the steering wheel is adjustable. There's a turning collar right here that turns back and forth. Most steering wheels, you can turn this and it will come off. Not on New Holland tractors. You actually have to pry off very carefully. You gotta pry off the little logo button right there. Don't break the little clips on the top and the bottom. And then there's a nut in here, and then you have to hold the collar and unscrew the nut, and then we have that. So now we're gonna have to go in and we're gonna have to put another socket on this part here to be able to finally take this whole thing off. This is insane. Oh yes, my favorite part, taking the steering wheel off. Wow, that was a multi-week project trying to get that thing off. Let me tell you, so to save you the time and the effort and the stress, I'm not actually going to show you in this video, but rather I'm going to create a whole different video just on removing your tractor steering wheel. I'm going to show you the finished product. Alright, so after you get the steering wheel off, the next part is to get this squared away and get ready to put your new steering wheel on. So they give you a whole bunch of these different attachment points. So you're just going to try which one on to see which one fits the best. This one fits the best, I think, as far as I can see. Of course, now it won't come off. I'm guessing you're going to have to hit this on to really fully seat it. But before all of that, you want to make sure to coat all of this with anti-seize. But before you do that, you got to make sure to get all the oils and stuff off. And since we've been using penetrating fluid, we have to make sure to get the penetrating fluid off from this before you put the anti-seize. Also make sure that you're using the correct anti-seize, because there's aluminum and then there's regular metal. So unless you have an aluminum shaft, I suggest you use the metal version. So we're just scoring through. And dab it on. I don't think you need a whole lot. The right way. And just work it in like this. So now when you put this on there, and to make sure you have the right one, you're going to put it on, and it might not seat instantly. You might see some daylight showing through it. So just pull it up and do just like a slight turn and then let it drop on there. And then when you look down in there, you shouldn't be able to see any daylight. It should feel pretty good. Well, before that happens, you have to remove the center. It just pops off. So if you're trying to figure out how this goes together, remove the center, then this goes in here, like so. Then you have to line up the bolt holes. I'm not sure what size this is, but I found the right size hex wrench for that. I don't think it matters which way to put this on because this is going to spin anyway, but we're going to start out with this towards the top and line up the steering wheel like so, and hope that we can get this back on. Which is just going to drop in there. Needle those pliers again. Spin it around. So that is on there good and tight. I'm going to tighten down that nut, and that should be pretty good. So the stop guard is going to mount underneath here, and it's going to lock onto the steering wheel mechanism right here. See how it can spin around? It's going to lock it nice and tight. So you want the prongs to go tight like this to prevent the motor from spinning. However, with most of these bracket guards, they're not tight. There's a gap on either side. So after some thought and some tweaking, we actually came up with a better solution to mount the steering wheel. So we took this angled bracket right here, and we did attach it underneath by lowering the steering wheel, but we added these chunks of tubing. I'm not sure what size, but if you take the bracket down to any auto parts store, they sell this stuff by the foot, and you can just find something that'll fit the diameter of the prongs of this bracket. And so what this is going to do is it's going to allow it to take up the extra little bit of slack that was right here, and it's going to protect the dash so the dash doesn't get chewed up. It actually extends just about 1/2 inch below the bar ends right here. So that is good and solid. And then we've got our information bracket right there as well. And then to get the LCD screen mounted, they actually include several nice mounts to be able to attach it to any of your rails inside your tractor. So we have our bracket back here, and then we have these mounting rings back here. And then we have the little spacer taking up the slack to get it nice and secured in there. And then if you're extra concerned about being slippery on this rail, over here, I actually have some athletic wrap that goes on tennis rackets. It's stretchy, it's just a little bit foamy, but it's got some good grip. And so you can actually wrap that all the way around as well. And so this isn't gonna go anywhere. That's good and solid as well. Now for the rest. So I will help you out. The antenna that goes with this system will not screw on to the base right here. Will not screw on to that. You would think that it would, but there's actually a hidden set screw right there. And you can't even tell that it's a set screw. It just looks like a hole. But on the inside, you can see that it must screw out. So after some research, a little tiny hex key will in fact pull it out. And then you are able to screw it onto the top. So after you get that put together, put the set screw back in. And just remember, if you ever need, for whatever reason, to take it apart again, remove the set screw first. Anyway, so we do have our sticky brackets mounted up here. We measured from skylight end to skylight end and found the center point, which is right here, which is the center of the system. And then we just line it all up right there. Now, if you have a slightly curving roof, like most tractors these days, you're going to want to loosen your nuts on the top here just enough so that it's not tight. See how it's not tight? There's a little bit of a gap right here. If you have this whole thing set up tightly and then try to stick it on, this is going to start gapping and it will not form a secure bond to your roof. So you definitely want that to be bonded securely. See how I can push on this? So it does bow up just a little bit. So after it's solidified and cured for about 24 hours. Then you can go through and tighten this down. Do not wrench it on super tight. Tighten it down just enough. And then double check it like a week later to make sure everything's good. Again, if you tighten it down too much, you might risk pulling back up the adhesive that you really need on there to keep this whole unit steady. All right, so this has a magnetic base. So I'm pretty sure it can't go right next to the GPS unit. So I think it has a very, very long cord. So I think we're actually gonna stick it towards the back of the tractor because there's another cord off the back there. Alright, so if you haven't pulled your hair out yet doing wiring, don't worry. Hopefully we'll have you covered. So there are a lot of cords. You will not use most of them. Well, you'll be using them, but you won't use all of the ends. And some of these have caps you have to pull off. So if you're struggling trying to figure it out, it may have a cap involved, such as this piece right here. Now this looks like a bunch of little protective coverings. And if you pull them out, and they do come out, it does look like such. But it's supposed to connect into this. And while the two do not connect, well, come to find out, after really looking at it, this actually comes off. Now look at the inside of this. Looks just like the inside of that. So this is some sort of cover? I don't know. Anyway, these two are going to connect together. This goes to your wheel tilt sensor, and this one, you see there's a little wire hanging off there. This looks like it connects to an antenna, but in reality it's not going to connect to anything, at least not in this system. So there's a bunch of different wiring harnesses, and they're just general wiring harnesses, which means they have many different connections. Kind of like the old school phone plugs that had like one plug for every style of phone because every phone had its own style plug. Well, that's what you're looking at here. So the one that's going to be pretty easy to figure out is the one that connects to your steering wheel. It basically looks like a serial terminal for a computer. Make sure to unscrew these first because they may be all the way screwed in, which will prevent you from putting that on or damaging something. So unscrew these first, push it on solidly, then screw these down nice and tight. Route your cord around an area that's not going to be in the way. Hopefully you figured that out when you're installing the steering column right here. Just make sure you give yourself some slack and secure it with the zip ties included. But what I wanted to show you, if I can find it. So there are two plugs that are going to plug into the back of this. And they're going to look pretty much the same. So here's your green end, and it's got like a bunch of holes and then a line in the center. One is gray, the other one is going to be black. Oh, he's over here. All right, so see there's the black one, there's the gray one. If you look on the back here, I don't know if you can see it, but here's a gray slot and here's a black slot. And then if you notice, there's another little radio antenna hookup. Now originally, I had connected the radio antenna to the GNS receiver up there because it does have a plug-in for that. And if you look at the plug-ins, they both look identical. They're made to be sat underneath. Well, after they went through and did the system, the engineers realized it could also plug into the receiver station right here, and it actually got a better signal. So that's where we're going to connect it instead. So now you're going to have two wires coming down from the roof, one from the antenna, one from the GNSS receiver right there. So the antenna is going to screw right into here, and then the two plugs that I showed you are going to go right there and there. So that leaves you with this random number 6 plug just hanging out. Zip tie him up and out of the way so you pretty much forget about him. All of your loose cords you're going to want to zip tie. This was mine from my thing right there that I moved. And then coming down here, this is our tilt sensor. See right there? Now what I did is I very carefully routed it under the tractor. Watch out for anything that might move or get hot or catch on fire or catch a twig, depending on what kind of farming you're doing with your tractor. So you are going to want to leave some slack on this end, and I'll probably try to go through and maybe zip tie it directly to this and leave a good amount of slack here. Look at that. Dead nuts even. All right, so for the rest of this, here's another end that we're not going to use. This one says number 2, and it does still have a cover over it. And coming on down the line here, Pretty much if you see two numbers that match, you're gonna connect them. Here's 3 and 3, they connected together. We have 4 and 4, they connected together. And then 4, of course, has... I'm not sure who designed this thing. This is just bizarre. I mean, you've got a positive and a negative, but look how much space they give you. Like, what kind of battery are you going to be putting this thing on that you need that much space between these? Sometimes I think engineers are needing to go to mechanical school, not just engineering school, because this is just a little bizarre. And then this is our button. Yay! And again, we're noticing it still has that 3M sticky tape on there, or you can screw in directly. Eric doesn't want anything screwed in permanently, so we'll probably just sticky tape that on there somewhere. And then of course our battery on this tractor is right underneath here. So hopefully that will solve you a massive headache.
And here's a view on the inside after I got all the cords connected and cinched up. I actually ran the wires underneath the door, so they're in the right-hand side door, just right down at the bottom.
Whew, so everything is almost connected. We just need the battery and then we can fire it up. Quick note on attaching to the battery. Be very, very careful what you're touching and make sure not to touch any of the metal except for the absolute battery terminal, or you're going to get a bunch of sparks flying up in your face and you could fry something. So I got a little excited with my wrenching on the nut and it swung back and hit the top ladder step and sparks just shot everywhere right in my face. Yeah, definitely be careful. Another thing you could do too is if it's in a really tight area and you're fairly certain you're going to hit something, you could take a glove, a rubber glove especially, and just stick it over the end of your ratchet, of your wrench, and that would hopefully protect it from making contact and creating those sparks in connection. So quick tip. So that has to be on, and this has to be on. There it is. You have to give it a good solid push. You've been working on this so long, the kittens have all grown up now.
Coming up in our next video, where we test out the Autosteer system and calibrate all of the controls. Definitely don't miss this video because it gets a little crazy.
What the heck are you doing, tractor? You don't know what you're doing. What are you doing?